All right. So welcome to your Budget and Finance Committee. On my right are Councilmember Nolan and Albee. Making his way up is the Vice Chair of the committee, Scotty Johnson. Councilmember Owens and Walsh are on my left. I know several others will be joining us. Councilmember Parks is excused. Solicitor Swim, Directors Webb, and Dr. Dudas are up here from the administration. Rebecca Luckenhoff is here from the clerk's office, and there's many other dignitaries from the administration in the audience. So welcome everybody, and of course welcome to the public. As far as the agenda, we will start with public comment, of course. We will then go to the public hearing on the Convention District Authority. I think that will be brief, but I know there's other people here for that, so we'll go to that. Then after that, we'll pass, I recommend that we pass that resolution. We will then go to CRC for their presentation. For those at home, we are going to be holding the presentation on SOPEC and the accompanying A and B ordinances at this juncture until we get all the information that we need to make an informed decision. So we'll be holding those items. With that, let's go towards public comment. We will start with Stefan Pryor.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? What's going on? How y'all doing? Welcome back. Hold on. Welcome back. This SOPEC Energy Company, please do not pass that. It's a scam. We paying 3 different suppliers on our Duke bill. I keep saying that. They're not saving us no money. SOPEC is a nonprofit organization making money off the residents. That's not cool. We got Duke Energy. They're not a nonprofit. It's wrong. Y'all need to vote this down. Don't even pass this. You shouldn't even consider this, Jeff Cramerdine, even on your agenda. For real, it's sad. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's just making money, making people more richer. Come on, administration. This ain't cool. You can tell the lobbyists all in this mix. They want this to pass so bad, Anna. They want this to pass so bad to play people. You telling me you got to pay 3 different people, Duke, SOPEC, and IGS, International Gas Service. You know I know this stuff, y'all. It's a game, nonprofit. You got the young lobbyists in the buildings. Come on, y'all. This is dirty. This is so dirty. How can y'all believe liars, though? Liars in suits. That's what I called them at one time. I ain't going to say no names. But liars coming to y'all now, lying to y'all about how this SOPEC would work. It's trash. It's dirty. Dynegy finna expire in 2026. That's the energy company. And now comes SOPEC to take their place. Come on now. Cover's blown. Get rid of it. Let customers go back to Duke Energy. Mark Jeffrey, Steph Wash, Mika Owens. Come on now. It's dirty. I love you guys. You can't do nothing about it, all right?
Thank you. The next speaker will be Todd Zinzer.
Good afternoon. My name's Todd Zinzer. I'm from West Price Hill. I wanted to talk about a couple of audits this afternoon, the WIC audit and the lead service line replacement program audit. Both of those audits have fraud indicators or actual potential fraud that the auditors found. I don't think there's sufficient follow-up on either of those audits. On the WIC audit, you had, for years, I guess, the EBT cards were unaccounted for, that they didn't keep track of how many EBT cards they had versus how many they were using. And there's ways to track down whether those cards had been used improperly, and we're not doing that. And in fact, if you look at the WIC program, it's a county program that the city has been operating for, I don't know, decades, because back then they needed a health department to do it. They don't need a health department to do it anymore. And you already got the county doing SNAP and Medicaid. It's a headache, it's a compliance headache. You ought to just shift it back to the county. On the lead service audit, service line audit, I didn't see any indication that the waterworks did a hazardous waste determination about the lead pipe. They have to determine whether the lead pipe is hazardous, and if it is hazardous, we have 5 or 6 years of unaccounted lead pipe out there. So I've asked the waterworks whether they've made a hazardous waste determination. But finally, I think your audit group is underused. I think they're understaffed, and the city would benefit if you would bring them in here to brief you on their audits and give them some recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, that ends public comments. With that, we will open the public hearing on the Convention Center District. Dr. Dudas, I will have you introduce item number 1. I think Solicitor Swim and her colleague will sort of update us on where we're at procedurally.
Sure. To the chair, item number 1 is the amended petition. This is for the Convention District Community Authority. So this is what establishes that authority under the Ohio Revised Code. It identifies the members who have joined the authority, provides the map and the legal description for setting up the authority. And just for context, the Convention District Community Authority is being established as it will be part of the financing plan, the capital stack, if you will, for the Convention Center Hotel project.
Great, thank you, Dr. Dudas. And we did have an amended petition, so I know Solicitor Swim, you just want to talk about where we're at as far as the amended petition and the public hearing?
To the chair, law has completed a review of revised code 349.03, and the city is compliant with all notice requirements.
Great, so the issue is properly procedurally before us today. Any questions from my colleagues on item number 1, the petition? Seeing no questions, we will put item number 1 on for passage. Dr. Dudas, to the extent you just want to introduce item number 2.
To the chair, item number 2, this is a legislative resolution also related to the Convention District Community Authority. This legislative resolution sets up a lot of the logistical needs of the authority. So it formally approves the amended petition, establishes the boundaries of the authority, covers the appointments for the members, establishes the method for selecting board members, and fixes the surety bond for the Board of Trustees, and also establishes a methodology for selecting Board of Trustee members.
Seeing no questions or comments from my colleagues, we'll put item number 2 on for passage. We will close the public hearing section of this committee meeting. Thank you for those that attended. As I said previously, we will hold items 3, 4, 5, and 13, all related to the SOPEC energy aggregation. With that, we will turn it over to CRC. We're going to go to item number 12, the CRC presentation. Director Betts and team.
So I have to hold this down. To the chair, Thank you. Good afternoon to the chair and the committee, Budget and Finance Committee. Want to congratulate you, first of all, on your re-elections. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Just want to also indicate that. Want to start out by thanking you for providing Cincinnati Recreation Commission with an opportunity to return today as we continue to have conversations internally and rewrite our financial ship. We appreciate the committee's willingness to grant CRC a follow-up from our November 15th session. I want to begin by acknowledging something directly, and that is that we realize that April 15th clearly was not, we were not as prepared. I think what you'll see today, though, is a remarkable difference in terms of clarity and readiness with our presentation. I also like to introduce to my direct right my Assistant Director, Tiffany Stewart. Many of you already know, but Tiffany is over Recreation Administration. And I also like to introduce our newest member to our team, our interim CFO, Austin Lubers. Also want to recognize Assistant City Manager who's sitting in the audience, Assistant City Manager Bailey as well, as she's been instrumental in supporting this department, particularly around the transition of our financial team. Each of them, each one of my colleagues to the right will have a role to play in this presentation. They'll have 1 or 2 slides that they'll actually go through. Per council's request on April the 15th, if I just real quickly revisit that, we were asked to provide a snapshot of CRC's, how CRC generates revenue in our expenses, so that you'll see that today. We're also asked to give a very clear breakdown of our budget variance and what drove us to what happened and what we verified through our internal audit. Our request for transfer of funds to address the current variance and known supplemental requests, you'll hear from us today. The corrective actions that we've already taken and implemented across our financial division, including new controls, an interim CFO, monitoring practices, and accountability measures, you'll hear in the presentation. And more importantly, what you're going to hear is our pathway forward, what we intend to do moving forward so that this variance of this magnitude does not occur again. We've prepared, we've prepared today's presentation with one goal in mind: to be fully transparent, fully accountable, and fully aligned with the City Council's expectations for fiscal stewardship. To the chair, I'd like to begin the presentation at this point. Again, not to be redundant, the agenda is just a snapshot of what we'll cover here today. Snapshot of CRC's revenue versus expenses, FY25 budget variance and the key contributors to that variance. Our supplemental request for FY26, our golf supplemental request for FY26, and corrective strategies moving ahead. I'll turn it over to Tiffany.
Okay, I believe last time that we were here, you all had asked us in regards to our revenue sources. So we wanted to make sure we start there for the presentation. So right now, CRC consists of 5 categories for our revenue sources. Recreation activities being the highest at 96.9%. That includes our therapeutics, athletics, our events, our programming, boat ramps, seniors, and other areas for that. Then we go into our rents and investments. That's mostly going to be investments, but that's at 2.4%. Then we have our general concessions and contributions and donations that'll bring in 0.2%. Our miscellaneous is at 0.3%, which is usually the prior year reimbursements that we get. On the right, we kind of show you our revenue over the 5 years. As you can see, it has increased every year. The latest with fiscal 25 is through the June 30th, where you will see the $6,218,889 for revenue. Our Fund 323 expense allocation. The biggest expense is our personnel, which is mostly part-timers, but we do have full-time in there, a few of them. Then you'll see our utilities at 8%. That talks a little bit more towards the stormwater, the Duke, and anything that keeps our recreation centers afloat. Program delivery is about 20%. That covers our summer programming needs, supplies, the food, any camp shirts or events that we do for those programs. And then the admin and equipment at 5% usually covers like copiers, the credit card fees, your computers, training, building maintenance equipment, and things like that. The reasons for the fiscal 25 budget variance, we've seen insufficient staffing, weakened fiscal controls in finance division, which director will talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the career, the pathway forward. Our unfunded programming and unforeseen events and requests, those are some of those things that we talked about, those warming shelters, cooling shelters, the Red Cross events and things like that. Increased aquatic security cost, our increased part-time personnel and aquatic staffing, which included opening up 2 additional pools, the extended hours, and then just having our pools go a little bit longer through the summer. And then our increased utility costs. All of those played a part in the budget variance.
CRC is asking for 2 supplemental requests. The first one out of Recreation Fund 323. That request is a total of $1,174,000. That breakdown is mostly from fiscal year 2025 expenses for fleet, facility maintenance, and personnel. Those expenses carried over into the current fiscal year. In addition to that, there's state mandated AED requirements for fiscal year 2026. There's also unfunded programming, primarily around the winter warming center operations for $30,000 for fiscal year 2026. And then there's also credit card processing fees expected to be $55,000 for this current fiscal year. And then RecTrack software to enhance programming signups, and that's estimated around $15,000 for this current fiscal year. The second request CRC is asking for is for the golf fund, Fund 105. The $280,000 of the $480,000 is for fleet expenses, facility insurance, and contractor expenses. Those were from fiscal year 2025 that were paid in the current fiscal year. And then we also had a forecasted increase to utilities operator expenses due to the volume of golfers and rounds being played. We estimate that at $200,000 to be added in this supplemental at this point.
Corrective strategy moving forward and moving ahead in FY26. As I mentioned earlier, we did hire an interim CFO. CRC, new CFO has hit the ground running. We've done several internal audits of past CFO practices. Our financial officers providing overnight continuity and oversight. Finance team fully staffed. We have all our team members staffed now. We had 3 to 4 vacancies. All 3 of those vacancies are now filled. Most of those vacancies are within the last month, so people are still kind of, figuring out their leadership role on the team. But thus far, we're very pleased. Continue to work with the Office of Performance Data Analytics. Very proud of this. We actually partnered with the Office of Data Analytics to look at our process for monitoring our budget. And we're the single department right now, as I understand it, that has is working with OPDA to actually develop what that monitoring process will look like. Just to kind of highlight what the goals of that is that centers in real time will be able to see exactly where they're at in the fiscal year for their budget, as well as we'll be doing far more check-ins with centers who might slightly be running closer to their budget allocation than we like. So we have controls, better controls there. improve and enhance our forecasting across the department. We've already started that process. We're working with our teams around training, not only on the budget, but also on use of P-card. And Tiffany Stewart and the team have led that challenge. I believe we're in our third training session for staff around that issue. Continue monthly budgeting and finance subcommittee commission. We actually do get receive monthly updates and reports from past CFO. I think what's important for this body to know is that this leadership did not find out that we were significantly over in variance into June 26th, which is far too late in the season, quite honestly, for us to have done anything pragmatic about that. But from that moment to this moment, we've been working diligently to make sure that we have the proper controls and proper monitoring in place to address this so it doesn't happen, as I said earlier, in the future. Strengthening staff budgeted training and accountability. I talked a little bit about that already. We'll continue to do that across our system at the lowest level within the organization, meaning our program folks in centers are being trained around budget, their impact on budget, what it means in terms of their spending in rec centers and across the pools as well. Incorporating department-wide tightening through vacancy and savings. One of the things that we took initiative on in talking with our board is we wanted to address some of the overage or the variance that that happened on this leadership watch. And in doing that, we actually held off on some position vacancies at the tune of around $400,000 and some thousand, which will help us in this fiscal year in terms of closing that gap. One of the things that I heard loud and clear from this council is whether or not those holding those vacancies would impact program delivery and/or services. And I can tell you that that will not happen. These were vacancies that we were already programming to the strength that we are today without those vacancies being filled. And so we're just postponing those for several months to occur some savings. And again, we did that on our own initiative. Continue to work with CRC Business Office and the CRC Foundation. We've doubled down here in the last 4 years in working with our foundation and their ability and capability to help us raise money, non-tax revenue, to support the programs, particularly supporting families who can't afford to pay for summer camp for 3 or 4 or more young people in their family. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Directors Betts and Stewart, and welcome. CFO, is it Lubbers? Lubbers, CFO Lubbers. Thank you and welcome. Thank you to ACM Bailey, as the Director said, for her work in this. Thank you for this presentation. And just procedurally, I guess for those watching, this is item number 12 was the presentation. Item numbers 6 and 7 are the ordinances, just so people know where we're at. Director Betts, how does the, thank you again for coming back a second time. How does the commission, the actual commissioners work? There's a lot of reforms going on. We used to talk about their work and how you work with the commissioners and how they've been involved in this process.
Our commissioners were very involved in the process. As I said earlier, we meet with a subcommittee of the commission, which is the Budget and Finance Subcommittee. There's 2 members who sit on that subcommittee. Those individuals have worked with us along the process of, identifying, potential reforms and training, and have also approved what we're doing in terms of rewriting the ship here.
Thank you, Director Betts. Questions from my colleagues? Councilmember Jeffries, then Councilmember Nolan.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you guys coming back. Just a couple questions on the revenue. It looks like revenue's doubled in the last 5 years, which is awesome. So it went from roughly $3 million to $6.2 million. Just talk a little bit about what's behind that. What are the drivers of the doubling of revenue, and I would imagine there's some kind of ceiling, because it's not a for-profit entity, so there's probably some ceiling to how much more revenue could go up, but if you could talk about what adjustments we've made in fee structures or other, that would be helpful.
Well, we oftentimes have internal conversations, Tiffany and I and some of the other leadership. If we were a for-profit corporate entity, all of us on this dais sitting here would be getting, double-digit bonuses for the increase in revenue. Shortly put, our revenue has increased over the last several years due to our expanding licensed childcare. Licensed childcare, although how it will end up years from now is certainly, we're paying close attention from the federal level, but the subsidy that parents who cannot afford licensed child supervision in after school and or in summer day camp is being subsidized to some extent by the state, and then parents pay a smaller version of that. So by us, when I arrived here and 9 years ago, we had one child care facility out of the 23. We've moved from 1 to 13, and the only thing that holds us back from being able to increase that 13 to all 23 is how our facilities' capital issues prevent us from being able to do that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is a lot of that is from the state subsidy. Okay, interesting. I had no idea. That's super helpful. The question on the golf, it looks like the $200,000 needed for increased utilities and the volume of golfers, which is great. I guess people want to golf. Talk a little bit more about that, because obviously the increased volume means people are paying for the golf, but it's obviously not offsetting the cost. Talk a little bit about that, and then do we charge people who want to golf who are non-city residents a higher rate than we do for city residents, or is it all the same flat rate no matter where you live?
There is a different rate, so I'll start with the latter part of your question. There's a different rack rate for folks who live outside of the city. We don't do that on the recreation membership side. That is something that in the future we're certainly going to be doing. And then in terms of your question, the first part of your question related to the golf supplemental and variance, I'm going to defer that to Austin, who's took a really deeper dive into that particular area.
So yes, at this point, the 200,000 is what we expect in the appropriation side. There are revenues that are generated from these additional expenses that will more than cover these increased costs for the extra rounds and the extra maintenance. Those costs that are currently, have been taken in the past fall, or have been seen in the past fall, and will be seen, in the spring when the warmer weather picks up again.
Awesome. And my last question, just on the 400,000 in savings that you've had, which is great if we prevent service level. But looking, 400,000 is about 6% of your total budget. And then if I remember, we took a 2% cut, the manager did, across all budgets. So that's like an 8% less. Are you feeling like that you're still okay? Like with 8% less in budget, like we still feel like we can maintain service levels? Just
the short answer.
A little worried about that.
I think the short answer is yes, because again, these were positions that were vacant, and we're not permanently putting these positions vacant. We put them vacant for some 1 month, some 2 months, some 3 months. I think was the longest to actually get to that number. So we will be actually, particularly those ones that were 30, 60 days, we'll start recruiting for those positions in the new year. So we don't, unless there's always that issue of the city having financial issues that come around where we have to look at our PVA. But what we've done with the current PVA, the short answer to your question, does not impact our service delivery as we know it today.
Thank you, Councilman. I just wanted to make a point that I often make, not for anyone up here or or certainly down there, but just for those at home, that the Golf Enterprise Fund, it's an enterprise fund. Golf fees pay for golf. No taxpayer money goes to subsidize golf. This ordinance does not change that. This is just a draw on the golf fund so that we're not putting money into the golf fund. It's all self-contained, and the Golf Enterprise Fund stands alone and always has. So I just want to make that clear for everybody. Councilmember Nolan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, all three of you, for coming today. I know we've had a number of conversations leading up to this as well, so I appreciate your time. Most of my questions have been answered. Just one left. On the very last slide with respect to the foundation, what does that look like in terms of annual contributions from the foundation? What has that been historically, and what does that look like moving forward?
So typically, our foundation has gotten, I will say, better at generating non-tax dollars. We envision that when they're fully operational and at their best, to be anywhere between $1.5 million to $2 million annually is the goal. We're far from that right now. They're probably raising anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000 a year. In the most current years, that's been the average number. So we got a long ways to go.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Alby.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate the updates. I do want to go back on the child care thing because, Director Betts, after you had to depart the Healthy Neighborhoods last week, and we had a public commenter come up after you left asking about the child care and why certain facilities take the vouchers and why not. So I think I answered in the moment around the whole licensing thing, but if you could just clarify that one more time just for folks who, because we've gotten this question a couple of times around why some of the CRCs take the vouchers and why some don't.
Yeah, so vouchers are predicated off of obviously financial need. So that's the first lens that the state looks through. The second lens for the state is operationally, will your facility accommodate a licensed child care facility? And so what I mean by that is basically we have to make sure the rooms are set up in such a way that they are, how the state mandates how we set up 5 to 12-year-old rooms in terms of aesthetically, in terms of furniture, in terms of space. The other thing with licensing is that within a rec center, there's two pathways for licensing in a center. One could be all the rooms are licensed, which somewhat prevents us from doing other things, and so we try not to go that route. We are more going the route of licensing specific rooms based off square footage and what we can do in terms of adhering to the state's regulations around how that room should be set up. So as I said earlier, the vision for CRC, I think, is ultimately to have more sites licensed, but that will require capital improvements because some of our facilities are old and outdated and they were not set up for child care. And so that's one of the issues. So we typically look at, back to the point of your question, we typically look at centers that are serving a higher demographic of poverty, and that's where we start at. So you'll see that most of our 13 sites are in one of the 52 neighborhoods where there's a high level of poverty in that community.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So to get back to the presentation, because that was a little off subject, but on the slide around the reasons for the budget variance, the second reason here was listed as unfunded programming, unforeseen events / requests. I think in the past you've invoked things like the warming shelters or Queen City Swish or whatever, the basketball tournament. But I thought the CMO, the city manager's office, helped cover those costs. Is that correct? So does the CRC get paid back when those events happened?
Yeah, this is more or less of our past CFO not adhering to the direction to ID build back the city structure. So it's not a lapse of the city not paying it, it's a lapse of us making the request for the payment. And so as we've dug deeper into where we kind of fell short in terms of monitoring and making that request, particularly around the 3-on-3 basketball tournament that you mentioned and warming shelters. Those were ID bills that were directed to make those happen, but did not leave the CFO's desk.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful clarity, and thank you for that. Okay, so we'll rectify that for next year. On the next, or on the slide with kind of the breakout here around those, the appropriation request, we have fleet maintenance and personnel expenses all grouped together with that, 1 million plus. And I'm curious of that breakdown, how much of that is the personnel bucket, given I know there's been conversations, it's the slide you got on the screen. On this slide, the top row, wondering of that $1 million-ish, how much is broken down with personnel versus the fleet and maintenance cost?
Yeah, the personnel expenses were 906,000 of that.
So 906,000 of that is the personnel. Okay, and in the past, I think what we've heard is that some of the personnel expenses was driven by the lifeguards. Is that kind of making up that or is this overall personnel?
I think it was a combination of lifeguards, center staff, mainly all part-time staff. I didn't really have the breakdown of what specific program, but it was mainly part-time staff in general.
Okay.
Yeah, so to Austin's answer, and I think I've been clear about this even in the 15th, that our 96% of our budget is staffing, and so the vast majority of what what we do as recreation is lifeguards and summer camp and after-school programs throughout the year. So that's where the bulk of our hiring takes place, particularly in the summer, and then, of course, in this academic school year when we're doing licensed childcare. So, yes, it's a combination of our pool staff. It's also, as Tiffany indicated in her slide, that part of this was, opening up a couple pools that we had targeted to close, but then we actually opened them up. Part of this was that we actually extended our pool hours and our pool season because it was a hot summer, and we didn't factor that staffing in earlier. That was, again, something we could have caught and ID billed the city back for, but we didn't. So again, all that activity is based into that number.
So as we think about going on for next year, is that 906,000, I think is what you said, an ongoing expense for year after year after year, just given that those are going to be repeatable expenses, right? We're going to want the pools. We're going to hopefully get 24 and 26 open, right? We're hopefully going to be able to provide the child care. So is that, as we look at next year's budget, is that just a baseline additional expense?
I think so, but I also think that in full transparency, we take a look. I want to just be clear about building expectations about 24 and 24. We take a look at our pools and the systems now in the off season and at the end of the pool season, and there are a couple pools that we're concerned about that we're going to really have to figure out whether or not those pools should, from a safety standpoint, remain open. So again, a little has nothing to do so much with budget, has more to do with safety and whether or not the pool will be safe to open. So again, just want to halt the expectation on 24 and 24. As much as we love to get there again, the reality is that we may have a few system issues that will prevent one or two pools from opening.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I'm going to follow up offline about that because I'd be curious to learn more. Thank you.
All right, thank you again. One final question, Dr. Dudas, we talked, or Director Betts touched on the OPDA budget process. I think that was in 2 tiers, and CRC was in the 2nd tier as far as implementing that. Am I remembering that correctly?
To the chair, yeah, in terms of doing the executive performance review, I think that's what you're referring to. All departments that are managed by a board or commission were in the 2nd tier, which we hope to have implemented this year for the fiscal year 2027 budget development.
Great. Thanks, Vice Mayor Kearney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this report, for coming back a second time. I just, in the absence of President Pro Tem Parks being here, I just want to point out what she said last time, is that really the overage in the budget was due to you doing what the city asked you to do. And that's extending the pool hours, opening additional pools, having more security, all the things you've mentioned here. That was really the bulk of it. And so we really appreciate that. In terms of, the licensing, the licensed sites, and we talked about this in Healthy Neighborhoods, that, you increased it from 1 site to 13. And so we're really thankful for that. But we are requiring capital improvement, so that's something we need to talk to, because we do have, that's what the railroad funds are for existing infrastructure. So if there's a way that we could make sure that's in the budget so that, we can make those capital improvements in the rec centers. I know you guys are in conversation about that, but that's something that I think we would definitely support. And also, when you mentioned there might be a few pools that aren't safe at this point, I guess they need certain repairs to be safe, right? Okay, so those are all things we need to really prioritize to make sure we're ready for the summer. So that's really important. So thank you for that. Just really appreciate your work, and and now you have a system, I guess, to track where you are with the budget, so it doesn't depend on the city telling you when you're at a certain point in the different rec centers. But as President Pro Tem Parks said, you did what the city asked you to do, and so we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor, and I know that's the second of my colleagues that seems like it's going to be an important issue, so maybe there'll be a motion forthcoming from council, but it seems like we should know the issue on the pools. It's January, and it's going to be June before we know it, so that we, at a minimum, know what we're looking at. So, Councilmember Jeffries?
Yeah, I was just going to follow up on the child care to go from 13 to 24. Sounds like there's some capital needs. Have you shared those needs with the manager? So as we're mapping out the railroad dollars and what's needed, is that in the pipeline to get fixed?
The manager has been a proponent of child care and expanding child care. There's no secret to that. We have had, I would say, very preliminary conversations around her wanting to expand that across the structure, and there's not been on our end any specifics given to her around which ones should expand and which ones cannot expand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Vice Chair Johnson.
Just quickly, thank you to Ms. Stewart, Mr. Betts. What was the last name again? I'm sorry, Mr.
Lubbers.
Mr. Lubber, thank you. Thank you. I'll call you guys CRC, the ambassadors to the city of Cincinnati. Thank you for the amazing work you do every day. Thank you for always being there in a pinch. And as the Vice Mayor pointed out, you did everything that the city asked you to do. So just keep up the amazing work. I am greatly appreciative of all the work you do day after day, year after year. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Johnson. I certainly agree. I know my colleagues do. It's just, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that the recreation and the engagement with youth is the most important thing we do as a city. So thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Seeing no other comments or questions, we will file item number 12, the presentation. We will put items 6 and 7, the ordinances, on for passage. We will turn it over back to Dr. Dudas for the regular agenda, item 8, and the grants and donations section of the agenda.
To the chair, item number 8, this is a grant ordinance for the Cincinnati Recreation Commission. It is a total of $120,000 from the National Recreation and Parks Association. Funds are split with $100,000 going for an in-kind donation of lighting and parking infrastructure improvements through Musco Lighting, designated for the Lesantiville Recreation Area. The remaining $20,000 is grant resources that are designated for activations at the Lesantiville Recreation Area.
Great news for Pleasant Ridge. We'll put item number 8 on for passage. Dr. Dudas.
To the chair, item number 9 is a donation for the Cincinnati Fire Department. This would accept $11,520 from the Cincinnati Fire Foundation. These resources are designated to install an equipment storage unit at the new fire training facility.
Thank you to the Fire Foundation. Good news for the fire department. As we get past the first of the year, and Dr. Diss, I can work with you on this, and it maybe can be a motion. It'll be interesting to see how much revenue we get from all of our foundations. We talk about the Parks Foundation a lot. Director Betts just talked about the Rec Commission. Police and Fire have got their foundations. Just, I know it'd be complex, but if we get a report, sort of just where all these critical partners are, how much revenue they're bringing, I think that could be very insightful and help us make some strategic decisions, including as we budget. So we'll put item number 9 on for passage, and this takes us to the water service agreement portion of the agenda.
To the chair, item number 10 is a water service agreement for the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks. This would execute a second amendment to the existing agreement with the city of Lebanon, Ohio. There is a new subdivision for housing in Lebanon that they would like to connect to the current waterworks installation, so this will allow that to happen.
Put item number 10 on for passage.
To the chair, item number 11 is an easement ordinance for the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks. This is essentially a swap of various easements related to road and flood protection levee purposes along Madison Road in the Madisonville neighborhood. This swap is with Oakley Capital Partners. There are certain easements that are being terminated and others that are being acquired. There is, between the easements being terminated and the ones being acquired, there is a $23,570 difference, which Oakley Capital Partners has agreed to pay for those new easements.
Great, we'll put that item on for passage. We're sort of back and forth on the agenda. The clerk, are we good on all the items? Great, I am told that we are good. Seeing no further business before this committee, we are adjourned.